Howdy folks. G'day.
Just on that, I'm sure you've seen the story about the AUT travel equity score adjuster from this morning. What's your thoughts on that, that it's still happening? Granted, it's not technically the public service, but there's a big taxpayer base within university. Are they just not getting the message?
Well, I think the most important thing is actually that we're doing better for all students at early childhood and compulsory sector, so everyone's got a fair chance of getting to university. When universities start discriminating based on who your ancestors were, that's inherently divisive for that organisation, and it's inherently divisive for New Zealand. So my message is, why do I care about early childhood education? Why do I care about charter schools or kura horua? Because I want everyone to have an equal chance to succeed, not for us to be locked in discriminatory policies such as AUT has put in place.
How long do you think it is before the public sector universities get the message that your government put across in that circular on Friday about it being needs first before race?
Well, I think you see right across the university sector, they're out of touch with where most New Zealanders are, that most New Zealanders want a fair go for each person, regardless of your background, until they get the idea that we want them to do high quality research and prepare the next generation to be skilled participants in the workforce regardless of their background. I think there's going to be continuing frustration, but you'll see that we have a review coming up into the MAPAS and Mirror on Society schemes, because we want to know that if those schemes are going to discriminate based on someone's background, they're actually getting good results for doing so.
Why should the government have a hand in telling universities what to do?
Basically because the government is collecting about $3 billion worth of tax off the taxpayers, and those taxpayers have a right to say how the money's spent in the case of tertiary education.
Isn't it the right of the students to determine how the universities function?
Well, and it's also, there's an interest on behalf of taxpayers expressed through the government. If we as a parliament are going to go out and ask people to pay taxes, which we do, then those taxpayers have a right to say, well, actually we'd like some say in how that's used. Yes, there's an element of autonomy. There always is with these things. I make the same argument with charter schools. We're giving them more autonomy, but the taxpayer is saying we want the children to show up and learn at a certain level too.
Has the Ministry of Education given you any update on teachers apparently taking kids' free lunches?
No, they haven't. I'll be meeting with the Ministry officials as I regularly do tomorrow, and I expect that'll be on the agenda.
Is it your understanding that that was kind of an isolated incident rather than something
certainly the update that I talked about last week, they said they haven't been able to find any other evidence of it. It appears at this point to be an isolated incident, but we just make the point that we fund something for a certain purpose. Teachers should be actually fulfilling the law and the obligation that comes with the policy. Also, the job of teachers is to express right from wrong and good values for students. It's kind of hard to do that if you're the one nicking their stuff.
The ACT Party took a bit of a tumble in the most recent taxpayer-funded courier poll. What do you put that down to, and do you think it has anything to do with the pushback on the treaty's principles bill?
Well, when you say a bit of a tumble, I think it was 0.3% in a month. Now let me just think about that. That's 0.0001% per day. I'm not sure that that's a bit of a tumble, but hey, look, you put it that way, you can.
Okay. Do you think that small nudge down then was because of the treaty's
Look, I think what you see is ACT's polling higher than it did on election night in that poll, and any day that we've got more people voting for us than when we're elected tells me we're doing a good job.
Meanwhile, Chris Hipkins' personal popularity is down 16 points when it comes to net favourability. I mean, do you think it's time for him to move on and somebody else to step up for the Labour Party?
Oh no, look, I've got great hope for Chris Hipkins. He's taking a taxpayer-funded trip to the UK to meet with Keir Starmer, the UK Labour leader, who's very hot on saving money and balancing the budget. I think if the New Zealand Labour Party can learn from the UK Labour Party about the importance of saving money, that could actually be a very useful thing.
Do you think he should be taking that trip?
Look, ultimately it's his leader's budget, it's up for him to use it and everyone else to judge. I actually think that people should be prepared to go and learn from our friends around the world. Would question a pretty political meeting if it's to speak at another political party's conference on the taxpayer dime. But look, like I say, if all he learns is that the UK Labour Party is pretty hot on saving money and balancing the budget, I think it's good for New Zealand.
Did you ever meet with any international political parties? i.e. maybe in Germany? I don't know.
Yeah, and you know who paid for that?
No, I don't know.
Me. So I showed you actually can fund it, and I'm actually going to go and visit a couple of Australian politicians over the upcoming recess, but again, it's not taxpayer funded. Tim Wilson used to be the member for Goldstein. So, yeah, hell of a nice guy. Used to be the Human Rights Commissioner over there. No, he was voted out at the last election, but he's trying to fix that. So.
What are you talking to him about?
Well, I don't know yet. Probably just how we improve policy and make the world a better place in our respective countries.
Can you say a couple was anywhere else?
Jonathan Huston, who's attempting to win a seat in Perth for the Liberals also. So this guy's got in touch, and I'm happy to go chat to them.
What's your position on these changes that have come in? Paul Goldsmith originally rejected advice around the search powers in private homes around gang insignia. Now it's coming in at the last minute with no consultation. What's your perspective on whether that's the right use of legislation?
Look, the ACT Party's always nervous about anything that infringes civil liberties. We're prepared to support this because gangs have been a real scourge. They do intimidate people. They do make life harder for law-abiding citizens. And plus, in this case, you actually have to commit 3 offences before this law applies to you. So yes, it is pretty intrusive, but it only applies to someone who's a recidivist lawbreaker in the gang space.
Because the advice that they've received is that it's not going to have any impact, it's not going to be a deterrence, and that all it's going to do is actually infringe on the provisions that are set out in BORA. So what's the point of it?
I think what we've seen in the last few years is that if you try and treat gangs as a legit part of the community, then the illegitimate behaviour just burgeons. And so if you want to stop the illegitimate behaviour, then you need to be prepared to be tough on all activities of gangs, stop them gathering, stop them parading, stop them displaying their colours and doing all the things that they do to intimidate other New Zealanders.
Do you have any insights into why Paul Goldsmith was against it and then at the last minute changed his mind and is in favour of it?
Look, I'm prepared to take the tough questions, but insights into the mind of Paul Goldsmith, that's pretty tough. I think he would. That's all right.
What happened to universal rights for all and everyone is treated the same under the Bill of Rights, and you swearing in on the Bill of Rights as the document of our country?
Well, I also swore on Section 5 of the Bill of Rights that says you can breach it if it is justified in a free and democratic society. And I think a free and democratic society where other people's rights are being violated by gang violence and behaviour is one of those times.
The Prime Minister said in defence of accepting those recommendations of the police to include those warrant powers for the gang legislation, that it was just backing the police, it was about backing the police. Would you accept that the Prime Minister's carte blanche accepted everything that the police recommended this government did, including things around semi-automatic firearms, including the gun register?
Well, when I look at the Prime Minister, without trying to give away anything in Cabinet, I can tell you he does think deeply about these trade-offs between civil liberties and practical safety of people from crime. It's not easy. I'd never characterise him or anyone in the government as accepting things carte blanche. All right, thank you guys. Cheers.